Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to another edition of Still the Fat Kid podcast. So today I am thoroughly excited to bring to you a guest that has been through a lot and overcome a lot. Today's guest is Marcia.
Hey, Robby.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Fantastic. So we're going to get into this, but Marcia has actually lost over 200 pounds.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So to start out every interview, I love starting out with this question. So a question I start out my day with.
Okay.
What is something you're grateful for?
Wow. That is, okay. I'm grateful to be able to get up every day and have the energy to do what I want to do.
Awesome. Because that's probably something relatively new from what
Very
you've
new.
been through in the last few years.
Yeah, extremely new.
Awesome. Okay. Now this is the fun question.
Okay.
If you had to have a walkout song for life, what would it be? What song gets you going, gets you in the right frame of mind that really represents who you are?
Oh, God, that's a tough one.
It is.
I don't know if I can answer that one. I get motivated by so many songs, and it's...
Which one represents you?
Gosh. I can't even... I don't think I can answer that one right now. I don't know. I mean, different parts of my life have different songs that motivate me. I can't really answer that right now.
Okay, that's fine. So I want to talk to you about your story.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked previous to this, and we want to tell your story to give hope to others because you do have such a tremendous story to tell. But I want to go back a little further than most people start. When they talk about a weight loss journey,
Right.
normally talk about when they enter the gym.
Correct.
Because that's when the journey technically starts.
Right.
But in order to understand that journey, you got to go back way before that.
Sure.
Because I didn't understand it first with myself, but I had to understand the very beginning of my story, my lifelong journey, to understand why I got to the point where I needed a weight loss journey. So, growing up, were you always overweight?
Always, from a small child, not as obese as I was as an adult, but always the big kid.
Always the big kid?
But very lucky to be in a situation where with my group of friends always accepted, which as an obese person or child, you're not always accepted. A lot of times you're the outcast. So I was very, very lucky to have a group of friends that didn't treat me any differently. It wasn't until I went to college that I realized that I was different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and do you think, what would you attribute that to? Like, okay, you were overweight. What would you attribute to the fact that kids didn't look at you weird? Can you think of anything that was different about the way you acted?
I don't think it was different in the way I acted. I grew up and was raised in a very small rural community in
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky. And we were just a very close-knit group of
Gotcha.
friends. Our parents were friends. We were friends. And it was not even a situation where that would have been a thought. So it was when I moved away from there out into bigger areas, more diverse groups of people,
Mm-hmm.
that I started to feel that.
I got you. The reason I ask is a lot of kids, because I do work with a lot of kids, when they grow up overweight,
Mm-hmm.
even if they are fitting in and they don't feel like the outsider, they develop these defense mechanisms and ways to protect themselves from the way they feel inside. And they have this defense mechanism to kind of shield that from the world.
I'm pretty lucky. I don't think I ever had to have defense mechanisms. I was the person that was friends with the cheerleaders and the football
Mm-hmm.
players, and that's sort of the group that I hung out with. But I always knew I was different.
Yeah.
And I probably thought about it as a child, but didn't dwell on it a whole lot. So and I guess not dwelling on it was because my friends didn't make me feel differently.
Exactly. So you started feeling different once you got to college.
Yes.
Kind of explain that to me. Like when did it first start coming to your mind that I am different?
You walk through campus and you don't look like everybody else. And then going to college is where I started realizing, oh, I don't quite fit in the chairs that they have in the class. And then you start thinking about those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what made me start to have to realize, and I wasn't huge as I was in my later life, but it was definitely bigger than the average person.
Was there something that happened to you to make you feel that way, or was it all internal?
It was internal.
Absolutely.
It was internal. You struggle with yourself. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, your internal struggles most of the time are way bigger than a lot of outside forces put on you.
Because the reason I bring that up is, a lot of the insecurities we feel, it's a crazy world we live in, especially with social media these days and kids projecting onto others. But a lot of times, those insecurities we feel are all put on ourselves by ourselves.
Right.
And we do it to ourselves, and it's that language we're using to describe ourselves that we then project that in the outside world.
It wasn't until I was older that I had outside influences. I was married for 20 years, and it was a very abusive marriage on several different levels. And his interaction with me is what really made me start to doubt myself and lessen my self-worth. It was when someone tells you you're not worthy, 20 years of it, you start to believe it.
Oh, absolutely.
So for me, it was divorcing and learning through that process how to accept myself. And I did it what I thought was great, but it wasn't until I decided to make the weight loss journey that I could have learned to appreciate me for everything I had to offer.
So when you were in that relationship and he was constantly tearing you down, was there, did you enter that relationship needing that counterpart to fulfill you?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I entered that relationship. It's emotional. I entered that relationship early in my life. 18, 19 years old. And this goes back to your other question of did I second guess myself and how I beat myself up. I just assumed that I was going to settle. And I settled. And in settling for him, he wasn't the right person for me. Mm-hmm. And I knew the second I married him, he wasn't the right person for me. But I didn't believe in divorce. So I stuck with it. 2 kids later, 20 years later, extremely unhappy and not able to allow myself to fulfill what I wanted to fulfill in my life. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you started feeling this way in college, and that started developing your story.
And that's where I met him.
Your internal dialogue of, I'm different, I don't fit in. And a lot of, when you start telling yourself those stories, it's, I'm not good enough, and your self-worth starts lowering with it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because as your self-worth starts to drop, you start allowing things in your life that you normally wouldn't.
Exactly.
And I'm glad you bring up the point about settling, because I myself, I've done it before. Exactly the same reason you did. And it's because we think this is what we deserve, this is all we're going to get.
Exactly.
So why would I try for anything else? This is as close as I'm going to get to happiness, so I might as well go through with it. Mm-hmm. And I see so many people doing that.
It's tough. It's hard. It's a situation.
It is, and it's because of this internal dialogue we have with ourselves. When we know we should be doing better, we know deep down we deserve more, but we keep telling ourselves this negative story, right, which brings us here, so we feel we only deserve this.
Right.
And I see so many people doing that, and it drives me crazy. And I was literally just having this conversation yesterday. One of the things that I hate hearing the most is it could be worse.
I don't like that.
When people tell me that, it drives me nuts. I'm like, okay, so basically you're just making an excuse for your entire life.
Right.
Like, it could be worse. Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that could be worse, but why would you accept that as part of your life?
Right.
And that's basically, when we settle, that's basically what we're doing.
Exactly.
And we have these like voids and insecurities from telling ourselves that negative story that we search for in someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, even if it's not right, we latch onto that first little bit of positive that comes our way.
I agree with that.
So when you met your now ex-husband, was he that first little bit of positive? Was he that first guy that like gave you
Yes.
attention?
Yes.
He was the first guy that gave you attention, and you kind of just latched onto it.
Because you think that's all you're going to get. You're settling.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't think at that point in my life, knew the person that I was. You know,
No.
I don't think at 18 and 19 years old you know who you are yet.
Absolutely not.
So it's like I didn't even know who I was, and I didn't have the confidence level to set parameters for what I was going to allow in my life. Very different now at 56 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and what I've gone through. There's a lot of things in my life that I don't allow in my life. If there's a place in my life, it's because I've thought it through and I've allowed that person or that situation or whatever it is to have a place in my life.
Yeah, and your self-worth is a little higher now.
Yeah.
You
A little
actually
bit.
you actually believe you deserve those things now,
Right.
which you do.
Right.
Okay, so inside of this marriage, you know that it's not right. How long did it take y'all to have kids?
Within a year. We got married in March. I had my son in February the following year.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is a lot of people in the relationships they don't get out of, even though they know they should, don't get out for kids.
And that's probably the reason why. I didn't do it because I didn't believe in divorce, but I also had 2 kids that I had to think about.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's age-old adage of you do it for the kids. It was when my husband and I were divorcing, and my kids looked at me and said, "What took you so long?" Because kids are smart.
Oh,
They know when there's dysfunction. They know when there's negativity. And honestly, all the negativity that was thrown at me, my kids saw. There was negativity thrown at them. There was abuse thrown at them, and they saw and they had to deal with that. Here I thought I was protecting them, and I would have been a much better mother at protecting them had I left when I knew it was wrong. But you know what? It served its purpose. It allowed me to grow as a person. It allowed me to be a better adult. It allowed me to be a better me for me.
Mm-hmm.
Had I not gone through those things, people asked me after I got divorced, do you regret all the dysfunction and all the abuse? And I'm like, well, honestly, I don't. I mean, it allowed me to grow and be a better person. It allowed me to talk to people and tell them, don't stay just for this reason or that reason. If it's not right, in your gut it's not right, you need to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So leave for the right reasons. Don't stay for the wrong reasons.
Correct. And I'm glad you bring that up, because so many people, they just can't see the forest in the trees. They get inside of it, they get lost, and they think, okay, well, this is my situation, I'm going to make the most out of it. Because my hard-headed brain, when I was in my relationship, I was always trying to fix things. I was always trying to make things better. What can I do to make things better?
Right.
Well, sometimes you just can't.
Right.
And one of the lessons I hear you saying without saying that I'm so glad you're bringing up is it's very hard to show others love and show others happiness unless you first are.
Well, for me, though, with that, I was always a pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
I always was the one that wanted to make everybody, I'm going to cry, wanted to make everybody else happy, no matter how I was feeling on the inside. It didn't matter. So I wanted to always make everybody feel the best they could for that day. And it didn't matter at the cost for me what it was. So a little bit different on that. I was the pleaser.
Yeah.
And I probably, to a certain extent, am still that.
Absolutely.
I oftentimes will make other people happy or do things for other people and not think about me first. Okay, Robby.
No, feel free to. I think that stems from being overweight, because that's how I grew up too. I grew up constantly bending over backwards for everyone else, doing things that I knew weren't right for me. I knew were going to hurt me, but this is what they want me to do, so I'm going to do it. Or, just totally sacrificing who I was and what I wanted for everyone else. And it's that need. It's because of our low self-worth, and it's that need to be wanted and accepted.
Yeah. I don't sacrifice myself for it anymore. It's just an added thing.
Yes.
It's just an added thing that I do to myself. And there's not anything that I do that I regret doing currently. I mean, lots of regrets in the past. I do things now because I truly believe in them.
Right.
And I want to do them. But I also do those things without stopping and taking time for me a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. And that stems from that increase in self-worth.
Yeah.
You're not going to sacrifice yourself as much when you know how much you're worth.
Right.
Okay, great. Love it. So progressing 20 years of marriage, what was kind of the breaking point?
I just physically was beaten down so far. Physically and mentally beaten down so far that I just said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. And there's not one thing that I can say gave me the confidence to make that decision. It just happened. And I took it and ran with it and decided, I want a better life for me. I want a better life for my kids. And we struggled. We didn't have anything to fall back on. So, it was pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do what you got to do. And we did.
What did you do?
I mean, I lived in places I wouldn't have wanted to live. I have always worked my whole entire life, at least a full-time job and maybe one or two part-time jobs through the whole time. I have no problems with that. When I want to have success in something, I don't have a problem doing what needs to be done to make it happen. So those kind of things, it's just, as a mom, you don't want to put your kids in situations that aren't the best situations for them. It didn't matter for me at that point. I could live anywhere as long as I had a roof over my head and able to put food on the table for my kid. That didn't matter.
Yeah.
So, it took a lot of sitting the kids down and talking to them. And, I felt like getting out of that marriage was traumatic for all of us. So I sat my kids down and I told them, I said, this is the way it's going to be. My kids were not little. My oldest was 18. My youngest was 14. And, I set them both down. My oldest had a huge problem with it. He knew that our family was dysfunctional, but he faulted me for everything I felt. So I set it down and talked to him and told him, marriage is a 50-50 proposition, and I will accept 50% of the responsibility of all the dysfunction that went on in our family, because it's not fair to put all of that on him. Mm-hmm. And I said, you need to resolve the other 50% with him, but this is the way it's going to be from here on out. And he said, fine, take me to him. I'm going to resolve this right now. And we got the car and went to where he was, and it was not a pretty situation, and we came back home, and my son said, okay, I got it. I'm fine now. And my younger son is a very soft-spoken. My older son is very outgoing and verbal. My younger son is very much like me, easygoing, not going to hear a lot of chatter out of him unless it's something really major. Mm-hmm. And so he just was along with the flow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how long, okay, so divorce and you have your kids. Mm-hmm. How long was it from divorce to weight loss journey?
Oh gosh, a long time. I got divorced in 1999. I didn't start my weight loss journey until 2015.
Okay. Well, when you got divorced, let's see, it was in 99, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about how much did you weigh then?
I would probably say 300, like probably about 325
Okay. So you put on probably another 100
at least.
after the divorce.
It was just a gradual increase, and it was something in the beginning I just didn't even want to think about. You know, you put the things out of your mind that you don't want to have at the forefront of your mind.
Absolutely.
So I just didn't think about it. And then, you know, you get bigger and bigger, and then you can't buy clothes somewhere, and then you can't sit in a chair, and you can't fit in a car, you can't put a seatbelt on, you go to somebody's house and you go, I don't want to sit on the furniture because I'm afraid I'm going to break it. So it's a progression through time, and that's what brought me to when my son was getting married, and all of the things that went along with that. So.
And what was that doing to you the whole time?
Through the years, or when my son was?
Well, before your son's wedding. All the times of having to worry about furniture.
It's just humiliation. It's humiliation, and then you go home and you isolate yourself. You don't put yourself in those situations. My older son lives in Colorado, and you know, you don't fit in an airplane seat. You know, at first you can fit in an airplane seat with a seatbelt extension, which is embarrassing to get on a plane and have to ask for a seatbelt extension. And then you get to a point where one seat's not enough. You got to buy two. And that's humiliating. And it just got to the point where, unless I was going to do a 2-day drive cross country, I just didn't even get to go see my son and his family. So you beat yourself up over it. You isolate yourself. You know, there were, at the end before my weight loss journey, I just quit doing things. I did my volunteer work that I could control the situations. As long as I could control a situation and know that I was not going to be humiliated, I could do it. But if it was a situation in any aspect of my life, if it was a situation that I had zero control over, probably wasn't going to go there and do that.
You just quit living life.
Basically, you do. It's hard.
That's very hard. Very hard. Okay, so 2013, son gets married.
2013, my son gets engaged.
Engaged, okay. Talk to me about what was going through your head buying that dress.
That's the first thing I thought when they told me they were getting married is, oh my Lord, I'm going to have to find a dress. And, you know, I didn't want to buy or have a dress made, which is at that size something that you would be used to. I wanted to go to a store and have the whole experience of buying the right dress.
Trying dresses on.
Exactly. And so I struggled. And, you know, I was at that point, you don't go in a store and buy clothes anyway. So I was mail ordering clothes anyway. And I struggled. I probably bought 5 to 10 dresses over the course of the next few months. Get them home, hated them. Let them hang on the door in my bedroom, looking at them, thinking, this looks like a grandma dress. I do not want to wear this dress to my son's wedding. And, you know, it's crazy. But, you know, I finally found one that was acceptable and my daughter-in-law was okay with. And you have to look at yourself in the pictures. It's crazy.
I don't want to ask you about this because you brought this up in your story. Is at the actual wedding, you felt like all you could do was just sit there. What was that like?
Hard, because you don't have the energy. You know, you have to wear this uniform of a dress with shoes and all this stuff. And shoes, you know, I picked the best possible shoes I thought I could, but for me at 420 plus pounds, wasn't shoes that I could get up and really do anything in. And they weren't even, you know, I look at the shoes that I wear now and it's like, You know, I wouldn't even wear those now. But you just can't. You can't stand. You know, it was all I could do to dance with my son in the wedding. That was all I could stand for. So I lived my whole wedding experience sitting at our table. And I did get up once to go across the room while they cut the cake. And it was all I could do to stand there for that. The rest of the time I spent at the table. And, you know, it's sad because that's an occasion of celebration. You want to celebrate your child. You want to celebrate all the family and everything that goes along with it. And, you know, hindsight now, if it were now, I'd be all over the place. I'd be in every corner of the room 50 million times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, see, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Because I've been there before, and being in these supposed to be joyous, fun celebrations, but you're just sitting there isolated, you're dying inside. And you're not able to fully enjoy that occasion because of what's going on in here.
And you can't recreate those moments.
You can't.
They're lost.
Like, I don't regret any part of my journey, but I do regret those moments that I couldn't take advantage. And it was just like this crippling story I was telling myself, and literally it was paralyzing me.
Right.
So, yeah, my heart goes out to you for that. And that had to be a rather large kind of just hit home turning moment for you.
Those pictures were what spurred me on this journey. I mean, I never owned a full-length mirror. Didn't want to have a full-length mirror. And as I think most overweight people don't want to have a full-length mirror. And it was like having to come face to face with yourself in those pictures when I had no control over what pictures were going to be taken were crippling, because you don't want to think about what you look like.
So you get back the wedding pictures. Tell me what was going through your head as you looked at those pictures.
It was all beautiful till I got to pictures with me in it. And one specific picture was my son and I having the mother-son dance. And I had to stop and look at that picture. And it just sort of hit me that is not who I am. That is not who I want to live the rest of my life as. And it was that picture, that moment I made the decision. I'm not going to do this anymore. I tried to internet search and figure out the right things to do. And the internet's a great thing. But there's nobody holding you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided that I'm going to have to do something a little bit bigger and better than sticking at home and doing it. Plus, when you do it on your own and you fall off the wagon, oh well, I'm not going to say anything. Nobody else knew I was on this journey.
Yeah.
And that's why I've become very public with this journey, is it holds me accountable. And hopefully it's going to motivate somebody else. So, you know, it started, my public postings on Facebook and whatnot, was to hold me accountable.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, because when you saw those pictures, you realized that my external self does not reflect my internal self.
Right.
And you wanted to change.
Right.
But one of the powerful things you did was you publicly professed that change.
Correct.
So many people that set goals just keep it in here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you set a goal in here, and it's very easy to fall off that goal because, okay, well, no big deal. It's up to me.
Right. Exactly.
No one else will hold me accountable.
Right.
But when you put it out there on social media and you put it out there to your friends and your family,
right.
It becomes very real at that moment.
Exactly.
Especially as a people pleaser.
Yes.
That's that extra little bit of kick in there, because now you don't want to let them down just as much as you don't let yourself down.
Correct. The byproduct of all that was all these positive remarks I started getting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 9 pounds down the first week, 24 the first month, 40 total 40 the next. All these positive comments I would get back, or I'd be somewhere or see somebody that I hadn't seen in a while, and that motivates you. That keeps you engaged. Yeah, okay, so you post it publicly, and if you don't quite meet up to goal for that particular month or whatever your markers are, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I just learned to own them. Good, bad, or indifferent, I own them for whatever it is at that moment. And thankfully, that year plus has been full of positives, and that keeps you motivated. And then I started getting comments of, because of you, I'm going to do my best to lose that 20 pounds, that 40 pounds, that 100 pounds. And then it sort of triggered me into, made me think, if I'd had somebody that was willing to put themselves out there when I needed it, would I have made that decision earlier? Mm-hmm. I probably would have if it was somebody I knew.
Yeah.
So that part of it has become really a big deal for me.
Absolutely. And I want to get into this because I think this is a very important part of your journey. I want you to tell me about when you first joined the gym and met your trainer.
Wow. I remember working in Bay St. Louis or Waveland. I get this phone call saying I'm the new trainer at the gym. His name was Brendan Jones. And he said, I need you to come in and talk to me. And I'm like, I'm an hour away. Now's not a good time. He says, well, when can you be here? And I said, 8 o'clock tonight. He goes, fine, I'll be here. I'm like, Jiminy crickets, I thought I was going to get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in and meet with him. And, he's young. And I'm looking at him thinking, how do you know what you're talking about? Yeah. And the more and more he spoke to me, I don't know, there was this connection. And it was like, I thought to myself, you want to do this. You need the tools to do this. He has what you need to be able to do this. What are you going to do? You're going to say no again? You're going to go off on your own again? So I trusted him. I said, okay, so when are we going to start this? And he said, well, we would have done it tonight, but you didn't bring clothes with you, so tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And then it really aggravated me because not only was he a personal trainer, but he's also a nutritionist, which now not only am I going to have to exercise, but Jiminy crickets, I'm going to have to eat right too. So I remember going in the next day, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he said, do you trust me? Half a second of thinking, and I said, yeah, we got this. And it was just like a 180-degree turn in mindset for me. Mm-hmm. I'd already made the decision to join a gym. I'd already made the decision that I wanted to do this. But those decisions weren't sealed in concrete yet. Yeah. And it was meeting him and connecting with him. If I can stress one thing to people, the only way you're going to be successful at this is to find a trainer that you connect with. Not all trainers are cookie cutter for your personality. You need to find a gym you fit in. You need to find a trainer that you can work well with. And so I decided at that moment, whatever it is, it's going to be. What have I got to lose but weight? Mm-hmm. And so that's where it went.
Because you mentioned in your story, a lot of times when you'd go into gyms, you always felt judged.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't even that the people there necessarily made me feel judged. But at 400 plus pounds, people do turn around and look at you. And you feel judged. And I felt uncomfortable. I belonged to several other gyms around here and really tried in good faith to do what I needed to do. But once you walk into a place and you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to go back there. So it took being in an environment that I felt comfortable and being with a trainer that made me prove to him that I couldn't do things. Because it was knee-jerk reaction for me. For when he would ask me to do something, I can't do that, I'm too big. Well, try it and show me what you can do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to say, no, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. And then I would try, and maybe I couldn't have done it textbook perfect, but he gave me another way that was acceptable that would get the same movement out of me. So, yeah, that's...
He was slowly breaking you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and he allowed me, when I was working with him, because I overanalyze everything anyway. That's the control part of me. Because, you've learned your whole life being a big person that you're going to control your situation so you don't put yourself in humiliation. So I worked with him, and it was like I didn't have to think about what was going on. I just would work with him, and yes, I would argue with him, and I still do argue with him. But he pushes me out of my comfort zones. I can remember when he was walking me around the gym, and we got to the mat where the free weights are, and I stop, and I'm like, I can go over here. And he goes, why? And I'm like, well, this is where the big boys play. This is not for people like me. I'm a 56-year-old woman that's almost 400 pounds at that point. I'm like, I'm not allowed over here. And he says, baloney. He says, you will work on every piece of equipment. You will know every part of the gym, and you will feel comfortable there. And I owned it. I mean, I own it now. There's not a situation that I can't go into, especially at the gym, that it might take me a minute to get my bearings, but I'm okay with it. Yeah. And I don't feel judged. I guess it's the difference in my confidence, because I don't walk into those situations humped over and insecure. I walk in like, I've done this for a year. I know that. I can do this.
Yeah.
So.
And that's awesome. Because so many people, especially being overweight, are so apprehensive to even walk into a gym because of that fear of being judged. And what they realize is, yeah, there's going to be people that notice you, of course, because you're weight.
Sure.
I notice when heavy people come to the gym because I'm glad they're in there.
Right.
And I'll oftentimes go up to them like, hey, keep working hard. You got this. Just keep coming. Just show up.
Right.
And, that's the way I look at it. But, of course, and I hate this, but I have to admit it, like they look at me, not knowing who I am and not knowing what I've been through, and they automatically think I'm judging them.
Right.
They automatically think...
You've had your own journey.
Exactly. But they think in their head that I'm looking down upon them. When no, I'm excited they're in there. Right. And I'm excited they're trying to at least better themselves. Right. And it's just the glasses we wear to see the world. When we have this self-doubt and this negative self-worth, that's how we're going to interpret the world. Right. And I wish more overweight people would understand that most gyms are extremely friendly environments. And if you just ask for help, people will always help you. I mean, it's almost like a misrepresentation of the world.
Well, and that probably for me, to the other gyms that I belong to, in all fairness, I never engaged with them. Now, should they as a gym have had someone there to put someone like me in comfort zone? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, in honesty, I never went to them. So I'd walk around and I'd look at these machines that I knew nothing about, didn't realize there's a lot of instructions on the side that you can read, but I'd walk around and I'd look at this stuff and I'm like, okay, I have no clue what to do with this. Mm-hmm. And then I would get frustrated and I'd walk around and I'd look at these other people and they'd be looking at me and I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. And I would go home and I would stress eat. And that was the cycle of my life.
Yeah.
Stress was food. And, that's something that Brendan and I had to come to grips with. I wasn't eating regular meals throughout the day. In my mind, I was telling myself, I'm only eating one meal a day at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, not thinking that, okay, it was fast food, and now I'm eating all these carbs and all this stuff that at that time of night is not good for me. I understand all that differently now. Mm-hmm. I understand carbs are not a negative. I understand fats aren't bad. I thought all those were back then, but now, we have all this spaced out and it all works well, and it's education. And if I could bring anything to people, it's, ask. Even if it's me I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a trainer yet, even though I'm studying to become a trainer. I will help you.
And that's the biggest thing is ask someone at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
They may not know what they're doing, but they probably know more than you do.
Right.
Or if they don't, they're like, hey, go talk to this person.
Right.
Or, hey, here's this guy, you can go talk to him.
Right.
They're always willing to help. That's the thing, and it's really basic human nature. People love helping people when you ask.
Most people do.
Most people.
Most people do.
Yeah, most people. But like if you're in a gym setting,
right.
most of those people in that gym would be willing to help you.
Right.
It's just getting over your own insecurities to actually ask.
Some of the most positive people in my life right now are quote unquote gym people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I want to surround myself with is the positive parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody that has, to me, a person that's into that gym lifestyle has a mind, body, and soul kind of positive outlook on things. And you can't be a whole person unless you've got mind, body, and soul. And, you know, that's something I'm still working on, but I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. Don't get me wrong, I still have my struggles.
We all do.
But, you know, for the most part, you know, I'm such a different person than I was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, even in the beginning, starting out with Brendan became my therapist. You know, I'd have breakdowns. I'd call him. I'm like, you know, send me a workout. I need to do something. And thankfully, that's where I wanted to put my energy instead of food, as I wanted to go to the gym and work out. And he could read me at that point. He said, I don't want you to work out today. I want you to come and see me and talk to me. And we'd get in the car. The beach is my happy place. So he'd say, let's go for a drive. And we would go for a drive, and he would talk to me. And at the end of it, you know, I was okay with it. I just needed him to walk me through whatever issue I was having. And it was always, well, not always, but most times it was me related. You know, there were outside forces a lot of times, but, you know, when you work with a trainer, as much as I worked with Brendan, you have to understand, I was with him 7 days a week for the most part. And it was 7 days a week, and a lot of it was very intense, to me, intense gym time.
Yeah.
So you get to know a person. He knew what made me tick, and he knew what my trigger points were. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say when somebody's looking for this lifestyle change, you have to have a trainer that's going to click with you. Because if you don't, you're not going to want to go work with them. Because
it's honestly more here than it is in the body.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I mean, let's be honest, there's nutrition advice out there, there's workout videos out there, there's plenty of information. But it's having someone that you click with, that you identify with, that's able to take you down that journey. That's the most important part. Because it is mind over matter. It is, you have to lead with the brain, and you have to lead with this part before this part will follow.
I mean, one of my emotional parts for me in the weight loss journey, and I'm still on the journey, I'm not where I want to be yet. I will get there. But one of the first things he asked me was, what's your weight loss goal? Well, at 420 plus pounds, you don't think you can lose 20 pounds, much less set a goal.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of was I was expecting a grandbaby. And I couldn't get up and down on the floor. That's emotional. How, in my mid-50s, talking to a 25-year-old, how's he going to relate to that? Mm-hmm. But he didn't even think twice about it. And, you know, he took me in a room and closed the door and got me up and down on the floor because I wanted to be able to play with my grandbaby on the floor. I had another grandchild that I was not able to do that with because of my size. So, you know, having somebody that can be respectful of where you are and where you're going is huge.
And that's an important part to bring up too, is when you set that goal, that's a very important way to set a goal that I try to get a lot of my clients and people I talk to understand. You set a weight loss goal that was not about aesthetics. It was not about the way you looked. It was not about a stupid number on a scale. It was something bigger than you.
Oh, I set some of those stupid goals. Trust me. I did set a stupid goal.
But you finally landed on that. And your goal was tied to your grandkid. And at that moment, it's bigger than you. It's not only bigger than you, but it's deeply, deeply tied to emotions.
Right.
You know, Simon Sinek wrote a book about your why and the importance of that being, you know, the motivating factor that gets you through the tough times. That was your why. Your why was you wanted to get on the floor, be able to get up on and off the floor and play with your grandkid. And it was important enough where it caused an emotional stir in you. And during those rough times, that's all you got to think about.
But the side part of that is, if my trainer had not been, I mean, in my mind back then, I thought trainers worry about numbers.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that there probably are some trainers that are more number driven.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it made me feel good that he respected where I wanted to be and not always, and we didn't even he never set weight numbers for me. I did, he didn't. And so the fact that he respected and appreciated that was huge to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's emotional.
It is. Because at that point, he's seeing you for you.
Yeah.
He's not seeing you as just another weight loss story
Yeah.
or just another notch in his belt. He's seeing you as an individual.
Right.
And that's something that says, okay, he gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And
it allows you to feel comfortable with it.
It does.
I think, you know, through that, I mean, he's my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a son to me. You know, I would do anything for him. I would do anything for him just like I do anything for my biological children. You know, there's not anything that I can imagine that would be an issue between he and I.
Yeah. So what got you through the tough times? Because I know losing 200 pounds, it's not always rainbows and unicorns.
I think the motivation from everybody, because I did continue to put myself out there. And knowing that I had a support system that if I'm trust me, over a year plus, I'm not perfect in this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have your slide backs and you have your, okay, I didn't eat what I was supposed to this week.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the old me would have beat myself up over it and said, oh, to heck with it, I'm just going to go back to the old me.
Yeah.
And having people that truly cared about me and, you know, like with Brendan, he said, okay, so what you going to do about it? Okay, you really ate crap this week, so let's fix this. You're the one that can fix it. I can write your nutrition plan for you, but you're the one that has to prepare it and put it in your mouth. And I'm like, you're right, I got this. And he would keep me focused, but having the group of people that kept me motivated, that was huge.
Yeah.
That truly I felt, I mean, there were a lot of people, you know, you have people in your life that portray themselves as one thing and then you find out later that they're not really what you thought that they were. But, you know, the proof in the pudding comes out. But, you know, having people in my life that keep me focused and, you know, I'm not going to always be perfect. But, you know what, it's not the end of the world if I fall off the wagon. You just put yourself back on there.
And how did you find those people?
Trial and error. Trial and error. Actually, most of them I just found. They found me. Mm-hmm. And some of my best friends now are gym people.
Yeah.
You know, they have positive attitudes, positive influences. People that I consider part of my family now. That through this, had it not been for this journey, I wouldn't have found these people.
Do you think that you found them because you were more open to finding them?
Oh, probably so. You know, through this, you open your heart and you open, you know, I was always, because of the abuse in my marriage, you close yourself off.
Build those walls. And
you put those walls up so it protects you. But that protection also prevents you from meeting some of the best people that you could possibly meet. Mm-hmm. And so going through this, working with Brendan, I had to put my barriers down. And in putting those barriers down, then you end up with this flood of positive that can come in. And really makes you feel good. Positive is a good thing, and it's something that I'm very thankful for. I'm very, very thankful for.
Yeah, because a lot of times, as being someone overweight, you build up this wall of defense to protect yourself from further hurt.
Of course.
But by doing that, you don't allow the good in either. You're protecting your heart, but you're also preventing the good from coming in your heart. And I found myself, I just became a really bad introvert, where I would hide in my cave at home. I would go do what I need to do and then go directly home.
Well, that was a good thing, because for me, I would work. I had become a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
I would be at the office until 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then I would go home and I would not go anywhere, and then I would get up the next morning and go back to work. And a lot of times on Fridays, I would go in on Friday night. I would not see the light of day till Monday to go to work. And, I'd set myself to-do list goals for the weekend. Most times couldn't even get out of bed because you're so beat down emotionally, you don't have the energy to do that. And then Sunday evening comes and you look at your to-do list and you go, another weekend I didn't get anything accomplished. And then you beat yourself up over it, and then it's this vicious cycle. You go through
a very vicious cycle.
It is. I'm not there now. I don't ever want to go back there.
No.
And I will never go back there.
You've seen the beauty at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
That light at the end of the tunnel, you've reached and you've seen the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to the other side again.
No.
It's not fun over there.
No, you're right.
So through this journey, you're still on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost over 200 pounds. I know that you're constantly setting new goals and there's new things you want to go after. What have been some of the biggest things you've learned through this?
I think probably the most impactful thing for me is there's not anything I can't accomplish. I can do whatever I want to do. Now, there are certain limitations, but I don't self-impose those limitations. I let them happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the biggest thing for me is I can accomplish anything I want to accomplish. I never thought starting this that I would have a tattoo. I never thought going into this that I would want to become a personal trainer. I never thought any of those things. And those are big parts of my life now. I want to be able to achieve and motivate other people to success. Mm-hmm. Because, I know what it's done to me to change my life, and I want to help other people change their life.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you bring that up, because in the world of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, their very last step is to become a mentor. Because they firmly believe that in the addiction recovery process, which being overweight is an addiction recovery mm-hmm. process, the final step to you completely overcoming your addiction is by helping others do the same. Because then you fully understand what it takes, and you fully understand that journey, and now you're ready to pour it into others and pass it on.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It is, they find that's their mastery level of the recovery process.
Well, that's why I like working with Brendan, because we can be a team in mm-hmm. helping him work with his clients. I know me, I did have that 180-degree turn in mindset, but a lot of, especially women, don't. Mm-hmm. And to see somebody that's, and again, I also second-guessed myself in wanting to become a trainer in the beginning, because by society standards, I'm still obese. And I says, how can that be and be a personal trainer? And he kept telling me, but you walked the walk. Can you imagine what kind of respect that's going to provide you when you're working with a client? Because, they say, when you're a fit person your whole life, you don't always understand everything that goes along with being overweight. So having traveled that journey, I'm hoping that will give me a little bit more credibility when I'm talking to somebody that, yeah, you can do this. And don't tell yourself no. So.
And I've heard you say it from day one, is that's the message you want to spread to the world, is you can do this.
Right.
It's possible. Mm-hmm. And I love hearing that so much, because that's basically what I mean, that's what I've done for a living now, is I want to help inspire others the same way you do of, hey, I've been there. I've been through this. I know what it's like. I know what it's like giving yourself anxiety, staying up till 2 a.m., and then driving to Taco Bell because you think the food's the only thing that's going to end your anxiety.
Amen, brother.
I know what that's like, and it's a hard process, so I want to help others not go through that. And I see that same beauty in you. And it's an amazing thing to see. But now I want to do something a little special.
Okay.
All right, guys, so yes, we want to do something a little special that we don't normally do. But I feel this is very important to the episode today. So in wrapping up, Marcia, where can people go to find out more about your journey and follow you on your continued journey?
They can find me on my Facebook page, which it's Marcia Whitehead McDowell, and I'd be happy to accept a friend request.
And we will actually put the link down below so you can go directly to her page and follow her amazing journey. But we want to bring in a special guest that has been very instrumental in her journey. Brennan Jones. Brennan is her trainer that she talked about and the one that helped her through this. So
Brendan is my rock. He's helped me get through this year plus, and honestly, without him, I wouldn't have been able to do this. So I owe him a lifetime of gratitude.
I'm here for you. Thank you so much.
they really are, like a mother-son combo in the gym. It's really funny to watch them. They're now at Ironworks Gym in Biloxi, and if you go in there in the afternoon or morning time when they're both in there, it is funny to watch just because of their dynamic. But Brennan, where can people go to find out more about what you're doing?
You can follow me on Instagram at Body Access Fitness. You can follow me on my personal page, Body Access Brendan. Body Access Marcia is also Marcia. You can get in contact with her to get in immediate contact with me. You can follow our Body Access Fitness Facebook page. And of course, you can add me personally, Brendan Jones. And I'm sure the link will be posted as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, both of you, for everything you're doing and everything you've done. And as always, to find out more, please visit my website at www.robbydangelo.com. And this will be available on iTunes, so please go subscribe. As always, make sure you give this a like. Please ask us comments. This video will be up. Marcia will be tagged in it. So if you have any questions about her journey at all, please ask. We'll all be there to answer your questions. But as always, in closing, just a little reminder, the struggle is real.